Hey, my name is Rio Waller, and you are taking CIT95 Intro to Python, Intro to Programming. So I'm glad you're here. I love me some Python. I've been teaching Python for a couple of years now. My primary language has been JavaScript, and so now get to actually teach both. And it's fun. For sure, it keeps me on my toes, which is always good. And I'm excited because I just finished this semester. And when I say this semester, I'm recording this the week after the fall 2021 semester ended, and I had taught Python in a compressed 9-week mode. And I got to use a new course material that I'll talk about in a minute. But I also learned a lot about teaching in a compressed mode, and it's not my favorite mode. So it's wonderful to now teach it in the 18-week mode, which is most of the way I teach my programming classes. So this is a 4-unit online 100% programming class focused on Python. And I I now have experience because I've been doing JavaScript for about 4 years, and I've been doing coding before that in various aspects. So I've seen students go through this process. And of course, every student's experience coming into it is different, and their experience of going through it is different. So my goal is to have you um, actually enjoy the content, enjoy the process. But of course, I can't guarantee that. I wish I could. I wish to be like guaranteed, right? My hope, my goal, my aspiration is that you enjoy the time that we're about to spend together. So, just to let you know, the thing about this class is you're going to have weekly work, and there'll be 2 due dates a week, right? There'll be a Monday night item, unless it's a holiday, which I think happens in this spring semester right away on the second week. And then there'll be a Thursday night item, and there'll be one item for each of those due dates. Those generally flow to what's called a code along, where we're going to use a Udemy course, a new one, again, that I just went through and got all the course material I use, the way I use it set up. And most students, I think all of them from last semester, really like the course I chose. Now, and just as a little side note before I tell you the other things in the course, but I use Udemy courses, and what we do is part of this work, 25%. Now, actually, in this class, it's 35%, unlike my JavaScript class, because this course includes a lot of the things that I actually configure, set up. It's called what I call a learn together. So because there's so much good content in this particular Udemy course, I ended up changing the configuration. So it's 35 for that work. And you'll see how this flows as we move into the course. And then I think 6 times I will give an assignment. It's called a learn together. Those two categories make up 50% of this class. The other 50% is from actually coding. And the idea here is that you learn the language, you learn how to write the language, you learn the concepts of the language, and then you code something on your own. And in order for you to, and when you first hear that, especially for somebody that's never coded before, that can sound in some sense intimidating, in some sense exciting, right? Because many of us, I think I would venture to say all of us have experienced software. Yes, we have, in some way, from an app, from a website. I mean, our devices. I mean, I could go on and on. Not my car, right? So there's so much software in the world. And I suspect there's been a moment when you've either had an idea of something you thought, I could code that, or how about this idea of a application that maybe would really do well because it's an unmet need in the market or just in your life. So that is 50% of this class. Not that you have to code YouTube or you have to code whatever, insert your favorite social network or least favorite to make it better, whatever. So in this class, that 3 times a semester, and this is the point of me kind of laying this out in the beginning, is that 3 times a semester, you're gonna come into a code review with me to where you're gonna write some code, right? You're gonna come into a code review. You'll need to describe that code to me. And the idea is that you write your own code, okay? And the code review will be a discussion between you and I to help me assess how well you're translating the concepts in the class. So 3 times over Zoom, you and I will have a time we need to connect. Okay, so that's the general way this class is set up. Now, let's just look. I do have a couple bullet points I want to make sure I go over in this first one, but probably the most important thing is really getting you started on the good foot to get the course materials really, really cheap. Okay, so let me just move over. And what I have here is I have the course in up on my browser. I use Chrome as my primary browser. I don't tell you which browser to use, but in this case, I'm looking at our course, which by the time you will get an email, you'll know that this is now open and you're in the hello world. You can see a couple of things. Matter of fact, let me back up just to talk about that before I jump in. That this course is set up for you to move sequentially through. The gray items are because until you view this item and you can see what's required for each item, you can't move on to the next. So that you will see pretty much through this course unless there's a reason for me to change it. And sometimes there is. But in this case, in the hello world, right? Why Python, right? Python is great. This is the Red Monk. Red Monk is an organization that tracks these kinds of things. And when you look at the 2021 programming languages ranking, it's actually hard to see that what's at the very top is JavaScript, Java, and Python. So why is Python so popular? I would say now after teaching it for a while, it's that it's an amazing balance of a really simple language to learn or a really straightforward language, right? And a very powerful language. Many times we see very simple things cannot have a lot of power over time, but Python is that amazing combination of the two. Just do a search for why is Python actually, let's do it this way. Why I would suggest you spend a few minutes if you want doing some research about why Python is popular, even though it's slow. So, right? So there's this really good, interesting. I spent a little time this morning looking. You can tell which one I ended up going to. So spend a few moments kind of figuring or doing some on that. Just so you have an idea. But my guess is because you're here, you've already done this. There's a reason in your life that you felt like it was a great time to learn Python. Okay. I already talked about a little bit of what you're going to learn, but if I dive a little deeper, right? So you're going to learn the fundamentals of the language. You're going to learn how to write functions. You're going to learn also a graphical tool towards the end called Turtle. You'll learn how to do OOP, object-oriented programming with Python at the end. And so much more. So here's the really probably the reason you're here, which is not only to get started, but what do you need, right? So the thing you're going to need that is the only thing that will cost any money is the Udemy course. I already have it up here, but I've given you the link. So now, right now, as of today, okay, and today is December 16th, and you probably won't see this, but if you do, there's actually a sale on it. But here's the thing I want you to know. The reason I released the course early is for students to set up a Udemy account. Okay, so it's a free, the account setup is free. And then what you'll notice is definitely if you do it, the sooner the better. You're going to see that especially over this holiday. Now, if you don't see this until the start of the semester, that's okay. But my hope is that you have seen it early enough to get this course really cheaply. Today it happened to show as $12.99, but I can just tell you that there will be another sale before Christmas and one after Christmas. Okay. And one after that. There's generally a cycle. So what you want to do is watch, and actually you can bookmark items or courses that you're interested in. So if this is your first time on the site, set up your Udemy account and then watch for the sale. So this course I've seen as low as $10, $9.99. So get set up and hopefully get that easier. And look at this. The course we're going to use is 100 Days of Code, the Complete Python Pro Bootcamp 2022. Now, in this case, we're only doing the first 24 days of the course, and you'll see why as we go. Every day is an hour, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. It's not to say it'll take you an hour. It could take you a little more or a little less depending on your skill. But you'll see how this flows as we get into the course. But it is highly rated, this course, taken by many people. Many people enjoy this course. I actually found out recently that Intel, the company who builds chips in the US, one of the most popular, uses this course for their in-house training because that's how good it is. All right, so that's the course. Go ahead, set up your Udemy account, watch for the sale, and hopefully get started or get it as cheaply as you can. Again, watch for those sales. Now, here's the other question is when can you get started, right? And let me come back here and just say this. So I'm releasing this early. You do not have to start this course early, but if you want to, you can. At the point I open it up, which hopefully will be today, December 16th, I will also have week 1 available for you to check out. But there'll be some work you need to do before you get to week 1, and it's the local dev environment setup. And so that process of and I recommend using VS Code. We're going to do some software installation for Git and Python. Just some general setup is really good to do before the start of the semester. And then once you get that done, if you're like, okay, cool, I'd kind of like to check this out, then you could check out week 1. And depending on how my schedule goes, my hope is to actually that's funny. Isn't that funny? My hope is actually to have another week or so before the start of the semester. But you could also, if you finish week 1 and I don't have week 2, you could go on to Discord. Discord I'll talk about in the next video. So you can start whenever you feel, but definitely by January 10th of 2022 is when the official start of the semester. But the reason I release early, and I'll end with this, is because I want students to get the course material for as cheap as possible. Because, I don't want you to have to spend money that you could not spend and spend somewhere else, because who doesn't like a sell? All right. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for choosing this course. I look forward to getting to know each of you, because I will over the course of this. And I will talk more very soon about the schedule for when our devs run. Generally, they run about every 6 weeks or so. Okay, so like around that 6-week point, that 12, and I think maybe 11 for you guys. So I guess I'm already talking about it. And then at 17. So about every 6 weeks, based on the course content and what we've done, you will have your development, your code review process. Okay, enough for me. Talk to you later.